I've done a few videos on strange and esoteric video games and media. My bread and butter of this channel is Fear and Hunger, for God's sake. There's a certain video game I have played recently that actually sort of makes fun of this genre in a way, but it still adheres to its core values. This game is, and I hesitate to say this, the Squirrel Stapler. Yes, that is the actual name. It is an FPS game made by David Szymanski. You may know him from the ever more successful game he's made known as Iron Lung, a game so popular that it even has a movie being made on the property pretty soon. Although that game is creepy and esoteric, it is a lot more serious than the less popular Squirrel Stapler. Squirrel Stapler, however, is very simple. You are hunting squirrels. It's that easy. You have a gun, which you can aim and zoom, as well as a noise meter for how much noise you're making, as well as a visibility meter. Like any good hunting game, you have to sneak up on the squirrels to shoot them and collect them. You need to collect 5 squirrels per day, and in the later days you need 1 big squirrel as well. To catch the big squirrel, you have to use the squirrel call, and then the big squirrel will call back. You return to your cabin at the end of the day after getting your squirrels. You may say, Pugzer, that doesn't sound very esoteric or creepy in any way. Well, let's get into why it's called Squirrel Stapler. Well, it's exactly what the name says. After you bring your squirrel carry-on back to your house, you will staple these squirrels to your dead wife to make her pretty again. I'm just gonna let that stir for a minute. Let's rewind a bit. How does this game start? You're greeted with a small guitar riff as soon as you start the game, as well as a pixelated squirrel picture. Funnily enough, if you wait in the menu for maybe even 20 seconds, the music will very noticeably loop. It's purposely supposed to look like an old janky PS2 game, like something out of an old demo disc you'd get at some weird-ass garage sale. When you hit start, you spawn in a shack. There seems to be a corpse on the wall, nailed or stapled even maybe. The corpse is missing its head and seems to be skinned. Red text on the screen reads, "We came here to get away from it all, so that our love may blossom. But our love has not blossomed. Look at my beloved. The flies have made her ugly and rotten. I wish she were beautiful, like the squirrels of the wood. And so, I will cover her in the squirrels of the wood." So if the game didn't make it obvious, you are playing as some sort of criminal, more than likely a murderer, and more than likely someone who is literally insane. You can continue to the kitchen to find a summoning circle or something in there written in blood. You can find a note on top of it that says, "Book of the Grove, Chapter 4, Verse 1. Saith the goat of the wood, thou shalt not staple squirrels." Obviously, this is some parody of the Bible or something here, but no matter what it is parodying, seemingly it is telling you not to staple squirrels. However, you are the Squirrel Stapler, so I guess you just have to ignore the Book of the Grove and whatever God wrote it. You will have to find one of these verses every morning. When you walk into the entrance, you will find the wall having a message on it in blood saying, "In 5 days, God is coming." Well, that isn't ominous or anything, huh? Walk out the door to find a large wooded area. On the screen, it tells you what to do. Hunt squirrels. Obviously. There are some notes around that will teach you how to play. Basic things like how to sprint or stay quiet or how to open the map. And on this map, you can see that there are no ways to find squirrels or anything on it, but there are some question marks and some dots. So what are you waiting for? Go out there and shoot some squirrels. There is a poison grass patch near your house. Every morning you can get 1 or 2 free squirrels there too. Walking around, you can find a couple of items that will help you though, like bullets, health, and energy drinks, which doubles your movement speed. There's a couple landmarks for you to look at as well, like a RuneScape fairy ring circle that hurts you for some reason, and a shack in which you can commit sins, which if you do, it'll show you a vertically flipped image of a low-res squirrel and give you extra points, and nothing else. It's completely ambiguous. Another thing you can find in this area is squirrel facts, like squirrels use their tails for balance, and squirrels have 4 toes on their front feet and 5 on their back. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Squirrels pee in each other's eyes to communicate. Oh, I'm not sure that's true. In 2007, 14 squirrels were arrested in Iran. Squirrels can debone a human male in less than 3 hours. Oh, so I assume these are mostly false, maybe except for the tail for balance ones. but there's some achievements if you want to get all these, so look for any and all papers here. You can walk around here and find geocaches every once in a while at these dots to unlock a new game mode if you really want to as well, once per day. The question marks are a different story. One in the center of the map will be on top of the mountain. There will be a small stone shack which will lead to a letter in it. One that is about the lady and the artist. There's a story here, and as much as I want to tell you it now, it'll make more sense if I read them all together at the end of the summary. Another question mark you can find is the reports. Once again, we will talk about those after the summary as well. So what should you do other than kill some squirrels? There's nothing ominous here, so just go for it, I guess. So with some expert aim, you can get this done really fast. Do what you need to and head back to your house. You walk back and walk up to your beautiful wife and do what your name implies. After which you should go to bed, having only the company of your wife in the room with you. The next day you can get up and find the second verse in the Book of the Grove. For the bushy tail is righteous in the All-Mother's sight, and chattering voice divine. Should that which is divine be adhered to which is not divine? By no means. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, it references an All-Mother, which may either be a play on Odin and Norse mythology about the All-Father and just being funny by swapping the gender, or it could be referencing Odin's wife Frigga, the All-Mother. But I assume it's just some sort of mother nature in the lore of the story. But the verse itself is saying in layman's terms that the squirrels are divine, and things that are divine should not mix with things that are not. Saying that there should be a distinction between the two. So in even simpler terms, in the story we find ourselves in, people should not staple squirrels to their dead wives. Probably. Go outside and you can see that you now need to find a giant squirrel. The way to get this is to use the squirrel call and locate it through sound. Once again here, you should find the note about the artist and get the note about the report, which once again we will cover after the summary. However, this day introduces another element. Ghost squirrels. These can be heard before they can actually be seen, usually. It will rush you and do a little bit of damage. However, like any other squirrel, guns are effective. Go home, and when you find your wife, you will find a new message from her. I don't want squirrels, I want skin. Give me back my skin. Or give me yours instead. Damn, how ungrateful. Can't you see we're trying to make her beautiful? I think we should go to bed after stapling the squirrels. The next day when you get up, you will find another verse in the Book of the Grove. Rather, like the righteous squirrel, the wise man stores his nuts for the proper time, but the faithless man's has no nuts to store. This one's a little more direct, however, it makes less sense in the context of the story. Wise men prepare for the future, but careless men have nothing when it matters. Perhaps this will make more sense with the artist papers we find. Leave the house and do exactly what you did yesterday. But this time be careful. There are now squirrel bears. Huge demonic looking squirrels. You'll hear them first. They are loud and huge. They take 2 to 3 shots to take down as well, and if they get close to you, they will explode and take out most of your health bar. Do what you need to do and head home. Now go to your room and... where's your wife? She's at the dinner table, alone. How did she move? Best not to think about it, but staple your squirrels and go to bed. Day 4 starts the same as any other day. A new note. In this way, the squirrel is good and the lobster is bad. Wherefore squirrels may die so that squirrels may live, just as lobsters live so that lobsters may die. So without looking too far into it, this one seems completely nonsensical. However, I believe this may be the most telling note of them all. I believe this means that the squirrels are seen as good creatures because they help each other and are social creatures. But lobsters are seen as just a casualty, as they are destined to be eaten anyway. If someone were to kill a squirrel in the open and you saw a dead squirrel, you might feel repulsed or sad for the squirrel. But if you saw a dead lobster, you'd think, oh, well, I guess it's food and just the circle of life, maybe. I personally believe that this is a commentary on one life not being worth more than any other life. Well, ignoring that, go outside and do your thing. Find your squirrels, find the notes. This time, however, you'll get a smart jump scare during the day. Which most jump scares haven't gotten to me since I almost threw up from the first Doki Doki Literature Club one because it scared me so bad. but I didn't assume there would be any jump scares in this game, but... I didn't have my mic on yet, but this one got me pretty good. Your wife appears behind you seemingly randomly during this day. Why? I'm not so sure. Maybe it's a metaphor for your sins following you or something. In addition to this, every once in a while on this day, you can sort of hear a woman calling out to you in a whisper. Maybe this was just me being crazy, or maybe not. Either way, head home and staple your squirrels to your wife, who is still here. Go to sleep and get ready for the big day tomorrow. You get up and check your final note in the kitchen, which says, "And I say unto you, in those final days the groves will bend in agonized worship, and the nutless man will be judged with his own industrial penetration and godless adhesion. So the stapler will become the stapled." This one, I believe, is saying that after all is over, in the end of all things, everything will be met with despair. Man will have to face the consequences of his actions, and the oppressed will become the oppressors. Maybe. That's at least what I'm getting from it. We'll discuss all of these notes after the summary. But now is the time to meet God. Leave your house and it will say, "I need to get ready to meet God." So what should you do? Kill some squirrels. Why? Who knows? Greed? You won't be returning to your wife after this, so it's pointless to get more squirrels anyway. But get your squirrels, and after you do, the most famous part of this game happens. Seemingly, there is disembodied voices chanting, "God is coming," over and over. Perhaps it's the squirrels chanting. The oppressors, that's you, is about to face the consequences of their actions. Let the timer run out, which, by the way, you can do nothing to stop it. And at the end, they will all chant, "God is here." Finally, God will show himself behind you, and seemingly end you. So what does any of this mean? Like, at all? Well, to get to my conclusion, we have to discuss the 5 artist notes and the 5 field reports. So let's talk about those. The first artist note says, "Once there was a lonely artist who lived by himself in the woods. Desiring to ease his loneliness, he saved his meager earnings and purchased a fine paintbrush, crafted from the hair of a beautiful woman. The artist loved this paintbrush so much that he used it to paint the woman who had given the hair for its creation, as he imagined she must look. He was then informed, what due to a terrible mix-up, that the hair was actually come from a wild boar." The second note says, "The artist was inconsolable. He spent his days weeping and taking his portrait on long walks in the rain. On one of these walks he encountered an old woman who said, 'Ah, young man, I can see the reason for your despair. Come with me.' For a few pennies, she said, his treasured painting could be brought to life. The artist was overjoyed and the spell was cast. Only then did he remember that he'd only painted the woman from the waist up." The third note says, "The newly created half-woman screamed and wailed, clawing her ways in circles around the room as blood poured from the bottom of her torso and entrails flopped around in tangles. The artist sobbed and looked to the old woman, who was examining the pennies he'd given her, unfazed. She caught his gaze, shrugged, and said, "I reserve a special spell for these circumstances." She pointed an axe mounted on the wall. The fourth note says, "The artist lifted the axe, tears streaming down his face. The half-woman continued to scream and claw. He brought the axe down. Her left arm rolled across the floor, and she still screamed and writhed. He brought it down again, separating her skull into two parts, and somehow she still screamed. Again, the axe came down, and again, until she screamed no more." The final note says, "The artist's ears rang as he turned to the old woman and said, 'What is this unspeakable horror you have brought to me? How can I ever escape what has been done here? What penny spell can you cast to conjure good from this?' And the old woman examined the bloody mess and said, 'Well, young man, this will make a mighty fine stew.' And they made a stew from the remains, but it was poison and they both died. Art will eventually destroy the artist." The end. So, yeah, what does this all mean? Well, I believe this is about the dangers of ambition. Sometimes our ambition can lead us to ruin, or to follow the story of the notes in the kitchen, perhaps it is saying how following one's ambitions can lead to one ignoring others for the sake of the self. Or perhaps if someone truly wants to achieve one's dreams, they have to step on others to do so. And if your dreams comes true, it very well may lead to ending your own life, metaphorically or literally. So perhaps it may be asking, are you someone content to let your dream die for the sake of others and your own well-being, or are you someone who is willing to hurt others and even yourself for the sake of your own ambition? Well, I think to tie it all together, the field reports are necessary. Each day, like the artist notes, there is a single report. On day 1, it says, "Nothing of note to report. Some marginal abnormalities in readings that went away once I recalibrated. Some odd noises during the night. Probably squirrels. Overall, everything is pretty quiet." On the second day, it says, "Small abnormal readings still occurring with odd regularity. Recalibrating always fixes them, but they do come back the next day. I also keep finding dead squirrels outside the door. Looks like maybe an animal is leaving them, but I'm noting it as per my instructions." On day 3, it says, "There's something in the woods here that we didn't expect. I keep finding tracks and I hear it at night, moving through the foliage and scratching on the concrete. And in the morning, there are squirrels outside the door, with their limbs all pulled off and their heads twisted around, dozens of them, requesting a call for instructions on how to proceed." On day 4, it's in the walls now, in the concrete, looking for my brain. I can't find it because my brain is inside my skull, but it will. It will peel away skin and bone to get inside. When my brain is taken, I will come for you. I will break you open. I will take yours instead. I'm in the shadows now. I'm seeing you cower. You're already stretched apart into pieces. Your head is already twisted off the spine. And then finally, on the day 5, please disregard previous reports. Everything is quiet. This one reads more like some sort of psychological horror story, or maybe a cover-up. This message, however, seems to be talking about the dangers of being alone and perhaps looking out for yourself. So what happens actually in the game, though? Well, it would appear that the most base information is the true information. It would appear that your character killed his wife and then went crazy, and then in his ambition ignored everything that would make sense. He took squirrels and he stapled them to his wife to make her pretty again, which obviously a normal person wouldn't do, but in his ambition he would to appear to have angered some sort of god, a god of the forest, or the All-Mother perhaps. And once he took too many squirrels, with his own greed mind you, he was killed. So what does that all mean? What is the message of this game? Well, first of all, I believe that it is a satirical read of this kind of game. It's supposed to be darkly humorous, so perhaps the egg is on my face for reading way too much into it, and I'm the joke here, but here's my conclusion. Squirrel Stapler is about how a man is willing to break boundaries of things they should not, for the sake of ambition and dreams, going so far as to defy God, and in the case of this game, the squirrel god, I guess, for the sake of their own goals. Their own ambition can make people lose sight of things that would normally have a line that people would not cross, such as defying God or nonsensically stapling squirrels to your dead wife. So in conclusion, I believe the message of this game here is, ambition can lead men to cross lines they normally wouldn't, and that should be avoided, as once someone crosses that boundary once, they will keep doing it until they lose their original purpose. So that was my take on the Squirrel Stapler. I probably read way too much into it, but it's a funny little game, and I might be missing the whole point by trying to rationalize it. But either way, I had a lot of fun playing the game and reading way too deep into it. And I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble. Either way, I love you all, and I'll see you next time.